Well, I married my best friend. Yeah. So he's like...
Your guy.
He's my best friend. So first thing first, we did not date immediately. We were best friends first before we started dating. So he is unusual. He's a homebody. He's a calm individual. He doesn't like all this, show off, Lagos thing. No, he's not the life of the party. God bless him. But it was difficult for him. It hurt him. But he was by my side, supporting. When he wasn't able to be there physically, he was there mentally. He is plugged in, full on. He understands his role and how important he is. He's here. He didn't go, and because that's the question people ask. Your husband is still around. He didn't go.
Wow, people actually ask that.
Yeah, people are direct like that. Your husband is still there. Oh, is he still there?
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
Valid question.
Yeah, it is, because the fact is that a majority
will run away.
will run away.
That's
It's too
true.
much.
Yes.
It's too much for them.
Yes.
But there are good ones there who stay, and not only are they good ones, they're the ones who are being hands-on. They're the ones those men are proactive. They're the ones pushing. Rather, sometimes it's a more of denial from the wife than it is the husband. And so, and men tend to be pragmatic, so they will get on.
I know you have tons of experience, raising Simone. So I want to ask, what tips do you have for a new mom, or even new moms who are raising special needs children?
I think first thing first, it happens before you've even given birth.
Okay.
I think that sometimes diagnosis, in fact, most of the time, diagnosis is prior to birth. If you're doing the in vitro testing. So the journey begins with how the diagnosis is given. That is key. So I have a huge issue about how diagnosis is given, not only for the medical community. So my experience of that was in the UK, because I didn't want to have the testing, and they kept pushing to have the testing. So after the third or fourth time, I asked them to write in my file, do not ask about testing.
But these testings, are they routine?
They're routine, but you don't have to do it. I did all the scans. I didn't want that testing because my thing was, I'm going to have this child. Whatever God gives me, I'm going to have this child. So rather than get a diagnosis and be stressed throughout the pregnancy because embryos are intuitive.
I love the mindset, actually.
Children, even in
they can tell when you're sad. That's true.
So they know you're going. I didn't want the remainder of my pregnancy to be stressful. So I think that's part of the reason she's so positive. Because I didn't have a care in the world, apart from all the vomiting and everything that everybody has. But I wasn't stressed about thinking, oh my goodness, she's having Down syndrome, she's having this, what am I going to do, And then this child comes out and you have all this.
That was actually a very positive mindset.
So for me, that's how I wanted to do it. But others, they have it. And there's nothing wrong with having it. We didn't even want to know the sex of our child. So there's a right to have it. But
you shouldn't impose it.
Yes.
That's a free will.
So you get the diagnosis. Your doctor now tells you, comes in a sad face, oh, I'm afraid that your child has Down syndrome. What does that mean? He'll tell you, or she will tell you, they won't walk, they won't talk, they will have this problem, they will have this problem. But they don't talk about all the positive aspects that come with it. And you can't blame them. That's how they're taught when reading to be a doctor. That's how they're taught. So it starts back to the medical community. They're misinformed. So I feel it's part of my duty to talk, and say no. Because your child is born. You don't know what the capabilities of any child is. So what gives you the right to say this is what is going to happen with my child? Nobody knows.
And most times children actually grow up and they flourish.
Exactly.
They do well, nonetheless.
So I always say that that's the first place. That's the first step. So fine, your mom, you've been given the diagnosis. What do? Then again, this doesn't go with the mom. It's a support system. If everything is dysfunctional around you, it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard. The problem is a lot of places, especially in the UK, when you get a diagnosis like that, they're pushing you to have an abortion.
Yes, exactly.
Wow.
Really?
Yes.
They do. That's exactly
Yes.
what I was going
Wow.
to say in terms of the medical community's response.
That's the response. So you have to educate people that these children have a right to life.
Yes, they do.
Wow.
You know, whether you abort or not is up to you, right? It's up to you to make that decision, but that decision should be made on accurate data and accurate information. So those are the things I find problematic, because I think a lot of it is put on the mom.
That's
true.
Yes.
We bear the
Right?
brunt.
You
most
bear the
times.
brunt.
Yes.
But meanwhile, you're not being given the right information. And aborting is, that's a traumatic thing you now want to put on your head. And you would have missed out on this child. But again, it's the right of any woman.
You have
Yes.
the right.
It's your body,
Yes.
your
You know
choice. Exactly, but have the right information. So support system is key. That avenue around you. But then it's the same for any child, right? Whenever you have a child, your support system
You need a
around
support system.
Exactly.
It's important.
But the key is that it's not the end of the world. That's what I would say to any mom that gets any kind of special needs diagnosis. It's not the end of the world.
I would like
Take
to
your
ask you a question on acceptability. How did the people around you accept the fact that she is a special child?
She's a special needs child. Because she's a terror. There's something that she has. And she just charms everybody. We go anywhere and people are in love with that child. Whether they know she has a special need or not, she has something. My dad always says, this one, she's going to be a superstar. My son, he loves her so much.
Wow.
And my son, at 5, he's now understanding where his role fits in, and that's part of the support. Siblings,
acceptance.
Siblings are a huge role, massive role in how a child, the special needs sibling does, because that's the person that they're with. That's their mate, that's their paddy. So that support and acceptability. I'm accepting.
Yes.
My family is accepting. My in-laws are accepting. I haven't reached that, I must say, because I think
The most important people accept her. So I mean,
and then I have the attitude with I wish you would. I'm like, oh, you don't want to be okay? Come, let's deal with it. So you have to be proactive. You can't clear the way
so
of
other people will follow
acceptability.
through.
Yeah, if you're not accepting, how do you expect other people to be?
That's true. Tonye, how long have you been running Simone's Oasis?
Simone's Oasis is this year.
Wow.
Yeah. And we're doing all this work behind the scenes. So our website is going to be coming soon with a platform where we're going to be putting this special needs content and Black African children content.
Wow.
It's going to include music. We finished a bunch of songs. We're mixing some other songs right now. But it's all drawn for my children as, like, I just study them. I just study them. I'm like, oh, okay. I test everything on them. I study them, but I watch what they like. I watch what they do. We cannot hand our children over to nannies hand our children over to whoever the school. It's a mix of everyone coming together. So so it's a family, it's a school, it's the medical community. It literally takes a village, and that's why I say God bless Nigeria, because this is where my children have thrived. It's not been England. It's not been America. It's been here.
Tonye, your story is inspiring.
Thank
I
you.
must commend you.
Thank
I love the good work you are doing.
Thank you.
Please don't relent, because I know so many moms would draw strength from your story. I'm really inspired. I wish you all the best.
Thank you.
But please, you will come back.
I will.
We want you back.
Anytime. I want to be back. I'm very happy.
And
Thank
just
you.
to add to that, Tonye, honestly, for me, like, I've just been listening to this story. This is a very special topic for me because both of my kids, like I've discussed with you, had speech delays, and I never got like an official diagnosis or anything, but it's something that we have had to deal with. And I never had the courage to speak about it. I didn't even know where to go or who could potentially help me or who I could just speak to about it. And it's difficult being around other moms with their perfect kids, you know, and then you're always constantly comparing. So for you to be doing something like this, you have no idea how much
strength.
How much strength someone can draw from that, knowing that I'm not walking this path alone. It's incredible.
Yeah, it's really important just to speak up. Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining
Thank
us.
you.
Thank you so much. So everyone, please be sure to follow Tonye on her Instagram platform, Simone's Oasis, so that you can catch up with all the latest gist, all the inspiration and love she'll be sharing on that platform. Thank you once again.
Thank you. Wow.
Also talking to us about raising children with special needs, we have here with us Nneamaka Ijiko, who is an all-inclusive education advocate that runs Eliakim Global Resources, which provides one-on-one facilitators for children with intellectual development disabilities in schools. Welcome, Nneamaka.
Thank you.
Welcome to Mom Chit.
Welcome. Same here. Thank you very much.
Okay. So can you tell us more about your organization and what you do?
Okay. Eliakim Global Resources provides facilitators that help kids with special needs gain access to inclusive education across mainstream schools in Nigeria. And we started about 10 years ago.
Wow.
Yes. So it's surprising because people say, wow, you don't look like you started this. Okay, so it actually started while I was an assistant teacher in the Montessori school.
Okay.
And I had the parents come in and ask the owner of the school, like, I have a child with a challenge, and could you accept my child? And so they went on and discussed the challenges, and then they said no. And she made a statement. She said, well, I've gone everywhere, and nobody wants to accept my child. Oh. So I actually did my first speech. I told my boss, I said, you see, why don't you just accept the child first and then see what we can do for the child. This is a Montessori school, actually. So if we say we're providing all-inclusive education for children regardless of their challenges, which was what Maria Montessori believed in, why don't we try and help this child? And so for the school then, it was more of, okay, let's see what happens. And so, well, you know what happens? They say, okay, you, Amaka, will take the child. To say it. And so he came in, and I don't know, maybe it was a love, it was one-on-one, it was actually looking at him, focusing on him and not the challenges, not the labels that came with, I have a child. And seeing what his strengths were, what areas we need to help him. And then in less than 6 months, he showed great improvements.
Wow.
Yes.
What was the diagnosis at the time?
Okay, so at that time, there was no diagnosis. Okay. So it's, your child is special, take your child to a special school. So that's where it comes. Wow. You understand? So nobody's saying is it Down syndrome, is it autism, is it ADHD? And so he did well, and he started speaking. Really? Yes, so it went from 1 word to 2 words and then became a chatterbox. Wow. And so parents started referring other parents that had similar challenges to the school. And it became, I realized I had to go for further training. I had to know what this was. And one of my challenging cases then was a child who had what we call Cornelia de Lange syndrome.
What's that?
Okay, so it's also a genetical challenge that affects the way the child behaves. You see the physical look. So a lot of people think it's just Down syndrome. So there are few kids with Cornelia de Lange, and a lot of doctors in Nigeria don't know how to diagnose them. Wow. So the first thing the school did was like, no, Amaka, this one can't come here. And so I had to go to Ibadan. The parents were living in Ibadan then to help out, and then we found a way to bring the child back to Lagos. And we got a school that accepted the child. And this was the line I always used whenever I go to schools to talk. I had to use my own funding. And why was I doing this? Now, in my family, there was never, I had never seen a child with special needs. Yes. But I have gone through rejection. So I know what it feels like when everyone turns their back on you. We talk about homelessness only in the US. I was homeless for 6 months, living under a car. So and that's why I was working in that school, so help myself through. And So you know what it is when everyone shuts their door. And that was the reason why I felt, okay, if this woman is crying, nobody's going to give this child a second chance. And in doing that small act of kindness, I found my passion.
Wow.
That's fantastic.
That is such an incredible story.
And so we went around, I started speaking to schools. And like I was saying earlier on, one of my catchy phrase was always, anyone could be in the position that this child is. I said, imagine. So I used to have dinner, create dinner for parents. And when parents in schools hear there's going to be dinner, they will come. And they don't even care what someone is going to say. So when a young lady stands and says, okay, so I'm here to talk about children that are differently abled, and I want
love that word, differently abled.
Yes, wow. And because believe me, I have my own special needs. You have yours, and mine was maths. People call it dyscalculia now. I can calculate on my money. Yes, I can calculate on my money, but then there's always something, everyone has special needs. Exactly. We all need God as a therapist to guide us through.
Amen.
Amen, sister.
No, honestly, you're speaking to me. Talk to me.
And so when I go there, I tell them, what about if we leave this place and while going home we have an accident
and become disabled or something happens?
The same way you treat that child with a challenge, it's the same way you will be treated. And we have this I reject it in Jesus' name feeling. So everybody quickly says, let us see, let us start. And so that's how we actually started.
Wow.
And another fear that parents always have is, will my child imitate this child who is different?
Right. Okay, that's for all inclusive.
Yeah, so when we do those talks, luckily for us, we always get every school to accept.
Fantastic.
Yeah, so because when parents go to hospitals and you're asking, where do I get help? The first thing they say is take your child to a special school. I have no grounds with special schools. But my only challenge is, this is the world the children will find themselves in.
They will be in a special world. They will be in this world.
You understand? So this is the world they will find themselves in. How do you help them if all they see are children with various challenges? You're not saying the real society where we live in. They have to learn that people will love them. They have to learn that people will look at them differently. Yes. They actually have to learn that this is what I should be doing. And we've seen that helps. A child doesn't talk. He comes to a regular school. Children are the best therapists, no matter what speech therapists and other therapists say. So you take a child to a school, and one child shows a child who has a speech delay or a behavioral challenge. He shows that child love. If you check the pattern for 1 week, the child who has the challenge would always stick to that other child and imitate.
Yes.
So it brings us back to, do children imitate children that are differently abled? I always tell them, when I have 3 kids, and children only imitate what they do not understand. The moment a child sees Spider-Man with cape, he doesn't understand that that's fiction, right? So he puts the cape and he flies.
Yes.
Yeah, I tend to fly.
Yeah. So the moment you explain and show with visual aids and whatever you have that this is this, and a child understands that, he won't imitate. That's how strong children are.
Wow.
Once a child understands, he gains control over it. He understands that, so this is not real. Okay, and then it helps shapes the way they think.
And I think on the flip side as well, it's even of such great benefit to the regular children to have differently able children around them.
Of course.
Because it teaches them compassion.
Exactly.
Yes, exactly. It teaches them virtues, and that is also so important as the building blocks for what really makes the child. So I think that it also, children might be missing out on that opportunity to see the world differently and to experience people differently and to show compassion and to show love, which is so important.
And also the teachers too.
Sorry, to cut short. To add to what Nicola said, I'll say that it also teaches them resilience. They'll be able to face any challenges that comes before them. They'll be able to do anything because you've trained them in the normal world, not trying to make them feel you are totally different and different. Yes. So it helps them to face challenges head on and just go through it and move past it.
Yeah, and like I said, children are the best therapists. So we come in, we see we see a lot of children, and you know the funniest thing, it's difficult, you know, every child's mind is open. You know, it's what you feed it with.
Yes.
Exactly,
Yes.
that matters. So when we take a child to the classroom, we do something. It's very important. We let the child know during circle time that this child is just like you. Now, the only difference is a child needs to learn when to go to the bathroom, when to go to this. See, we're not talking to the teachers now, we're talking to the children. Now, children always have the sense of responsibility. They love it.
Yes,
And so when we're having that discussion, you see them saying, okay, don't worry, Auntie Maka will take
him to the bathroom.
And then they're taking the child to the bathroom, or they're not saying, come. They're not holding your hand. We do that a lot in Nigeria. You want to hold someone's hand, you want to guide someone through.
Yes.
You're not giving the person the liberty to express themselves. So the children, you see them, they tell you, oh, come and use the bathroom. They're using words, and they're using simple words. But what do? You know, sometimes you see teachers saying, go and use the bathroom. I say, go and use the bathroom. Stand up, I'm asking you to go and use the bathroom. How many words have you used? So, you know, so that's why I said children are the best therapists. They know how to communicate, they know how to help, and then, like she said earlier on,
And to imitate as well.
yes, it helps with a lot of compassion.
Yeah, Amaka, listening to you speak, I've just realized again that we have a lot of work to do. Especially school owners, teachers, school owners. Imagine if the school which you worked at did not give you the opportunity, didn't listen to you. I'm sure that dream would have almost died at the time.
Of course, natural death.
So I think schools need to do more. You know, my children's school, my children actually told me about a child. They don't know what it is all about, but from their description, I know it's a special child. So that the child doesn't talk, but he's 8 years old. He has like a therapist. That's from their explanation. That they take him to a different class to teach, that he did his birthday, that they're always warning him to stop jumping, you know. So, but I could tell that child is a special child. So I think schools, like I said, school owners, teachers, you know, we need to, I think, a lot of sensitization. You have a lot of work to do.
Yes.
I know you can't do it alone, but
No, we can't do it alone. Coming to that, so we realized that most of the parents that can afford the services of facilitators and therapists actually have to break the bank to do that. And then most of the schools that start coming on board saying, oh, we have learning support units, we're actually doing it to increase figures. Because so what happens when the facilitator is not around? What really happens?
what are they even teaching?
Exactly.
How are they intervening?
So so we gave birth to one of our projects called Inclusive Education First Aid, and so it's free. What we do is that we go to schools and teach teachers how to identify a child with a challenge, how to help the child with a challenge, pending when the parents can find the resources to get facilitators.
That's a huge
Wow,
one. How
yes.
are you funded? How do you?
Okay, so we have team of volunteers who would help you. I would say, okay, yes, I want to solve. A lot of Nigerians are good. Okay, and say, I want to join this course. I want to help you. And so it's all funded. So we go from one school to another. We're discussing with them. We're training teachers on how to provide this help. Because you think, people always come to me and say, Amaka, why is it there's only the rich people who have it? No, that's not true. That's not true, because I've had parents come to me and say, oh gosh, if we had known earlier on, we wouldn't have taken the child to the village to drown.
Wow.
So our job too can be overwhelming, because you're expecting a parent to say something, not tell you that they drowned their child.
Wow.
Because they didn't know where to get help. Okay, and so that's where early intervention is key.
Yes.
So we start sensitizing teachers, because who are the people parents will meet? They have exactly preschoolers, the teachers, and so we start sensitizing them, and it's really been helpful. Okay, and we also touch the hearts, try to reach the conscience of school owners as well. Don't just say we accept. Do something. If you're taking the fees, then act. Learn more, help the child. Exactly, give value. It's not a dumping ground. Okay. A lot of our kids write IGCSE, okay, WAEC and the rest. And what it still boils down to, inclusion is not just school.
Okay.
Inclusion is a way of life.
Lifelong.
Yes, it's lifelong. So nursery school, primary school, you're doing inclusion. Secondary school, you're doing inclusion.
So
Then
for life.
Exactly.
Okay, one quick word before we let you go. Okay. So for a mom who has just discovered that her preschooler is a special needs child, what is the most important thing she needs to do?
Okay, so the first thing is take a deep breath, because don't cloud. You don't ask so many questions at the beginning. Okay, so just take a deep breath and know your child. Learn about what are the challenges. You have to list that down because you're the mother. You know that. Okay, so what are those challenges? What are the areas you think your child needs help for? Then speak with your developmental pediatrician.
Okay, see a pediatrician.
Yes, a developmental
pediatrician.
pediatrician. I just know of 3. I don't know if we have more than that.
Okay.
So speak to a developmental pediatrician and reach out to a good school.
Thank you so much, Nneamaka, for joining us on today's episode. It was lovely speaking with you. I'm sure everyone learned.
It was so deep.
Very deep.
So
Really
deep.
deep.
Thank you so much for sharing your life experiences. I know that, it must also be difficult as a caretaker for these children to see the way that they are treated, and it must be psychologically heavy on you as well. So just keep doing what you're doing.
More
You're
strength.
amazing.
Oh, don't stop, please. I mean, it's really important.
Yeah. So if you have any questions, you would love to find out more about what Nneamaka does, be sure to follow her on her Instagram handle at Eliakim_therapy. Slide into her DMs and bombard her with questions. Be sure to follow us on all our social media handles, on Instagram at MomChitChatTV, on Facebook at MomChitChatTV, and be sure to subscribe to all our previous episodes on YouTube at MomChitChatTV. Until next time,
Bye. See you.